Every emergency room, every dental office, every airport security line, every veterinary clinic treating a broken bone, every archaeological dig carefully examining ancient artifacts. All of them depend on one invention that most people have never thought about: the ability to see inside things without opening them, to peer through skin and metal and stone as if they were glass. This technology saves millions of lives every year. It has revolutionized medicine, transformed law enforcement, and changed how we explore everything from Egyptian mummies to distant galaxies. And the story of how it came to exist is one of the most unlikely in human history. A complete accident discovered by a man who had never made a major breakthrough in his life. Now that is a story worth telling. Picture the world in 1895. If you broke your arm, the doctor would feel around the bone, make his best guess, and set it by touch alone. If a bullet lodged in your chest, surgery meant cutting you open without really knowing where to look. If you developed tuberculosis, which killed 1 in 7 Americans, there was no way to detect it until you were already dying. Medical diagnosis was essentially medieval. Doctors relied on crude instruments like stethoscopes and their own senses. They listened to your heartbeat, felt for lumps, watched how you walked. Internal medicine was largely guesswork. When you visited a doctor, they could only see what was on the surface. Everything inside your body remained a mystery until something went catastrophically wrong. Civil War veterans still carried bullets and shrapnel in their bodies 30 years after the war ended. Doctors knew the metal was there, but removing it often meant more damage than leaving it alone. Broken bones healed crooked because there was no way to see if they were properly aligned. Children died from internal injuries that modern doctors could spot in seconds. Think about that for a second. Less than 130 years ago, the inside of the human body was as mysterious as the far side of the moon. But people were desperate to see what was hidden. Victorian photographers tried everything: infrared photography to peer through objects, chemical enhancement to reveal hidden details. Some even claimed to capture ghosts on film, selling spirit photographs to grieving families who wanted to see their departed loved ones. But nothing worked reliably. The desire to see the invisible was a cultural obsession of the era, but the technology simply did not exist. The problem seemed impossible to solve. Wilhelm Conrad Rontgen was 50 years old and had never made a major discovery. He was a meticulous German physics professor at the University of Würzburg, considered competent but unremarkable by his peers. On the evening of November 8, 1895, Rontgen was working alone in his darkened laboratory. He was experimenting with a Crookes tube, an early type of vacuum tube that produced streams of electrons. He had covered the tube completely with black cardboard to block any visible light. But when he switched on the tube, something impossible happened. A fluorescent screen sitting 9 feet away on his workbench began to glow with an eerie green light. Rontgen stared at the glowing screen. The cardboard should have blocked all light from the tube. Yet somehow, some form of invisible radiation was passing right through the cardboard and striking the screen. He called out to make sure no one else was in the building. He was completely alone. For the next 7 weeks, Rontgen worked in complete secrecy. He skipped meals. He slept in his laboratory. His wife Anna Bertha brought him food as he obsessively experimented. He tested his mysterious rays on keys, coins, wooden boxes. The rays passed through some materials like they were not even there, but were blocked by others. He had no idea what he had discovered, so he called them X-rays. The X stood for unknown. Here is where it gets really interesting. On December 22, 1895, Rontgen convinced his wife to help him with a crucial experiment. He asked Anna Bertha to place her hand on a photographic plate for 15 minutes while he aimed his X-rays at it. When he developed the plate, they saw something no human being had ever seen before. Anna Bertha's bones, floating in the image like ghostly white shadows. Her wedding ring appeared to hover around skeletal fingers. She looked at the image and reportedly said, "I have seen my death." On December 28, 1895, Rontgen submitted his paper titled "On a New Kind of Rays" to the local physics journal. Within days, newspapers worldwide exploded with the story. Headlines proclaimed the ability to see through walls and photograph the soul. The public reaction was immediate hysteria mixed with fascination. The New York Times ran daily X-ray stories. Entrepreneurs promised X-ray machines that could detect lies, find buried treasure, and cure diseases. London department stores began selling X-ray-proof clothing for modest ladies who worried about voyeurs using the rays to see through their dresses. Parents fretted about photographers spying on their daughters. But the medical potential was immediately obvious. Thomas Edison, always quick to spot commercial opportunity, assigned his best glassblower, Clarence Dally, to develop a fluoroscope for public demonstrations. Edison's workshop in Menlo Park became ground zero for American X-ray development. Dally was brilliant and dedicated. He tested the devices on his own hands hundreds of times, perfecting the technology that would make Edison's fluoroscope the best in the world. What nobody knew at the time was that radiation was slowly destroying Dally's tissue with every exposure. By 1900, every major hospital in America and Europe had X-ray departments. The technology created entirely new medical specialties. Radiology became a distinct field. Doctors could finally see broken bones before setting them, locate bullets without exploratory surgery, and diagnose internal diseases that had been death sentences just years before. During World War I, mobile X-ray units on the battlefield helped save thousands of soldiers by locating shrapnel without invasive procedures. The ability to see inside living bodies revolutionized surgery, diagnosis, and treatment, and nobody had any idea what they had just started. The first cracks appeared in 1900 when Clarence Dally's hair began falling out. Then came ulcers on his hands that would not heal. The man who had dedicated himself to perfecting Edison's fluoroscope was paying a terrible price for his devotion. When you have been around long enough, you start to see how everything connects. The same technology that was saving lives was also destroying them. Doctors amputated Dally's left hand in 1902, hoping to stop the spread of radiation damage. When that failed, they took his right hand in 1903. Then both arms up to the shoulders. Nothing worked. On October 2, 1904, Clarence Dally died at age 39. He became America's first radiation fatality. Thomas Edison was horrified. The man who had brought electricity to the world immediately abandoned all X-ray research. He never spoke about it publicly again and refused to be X-rayed even for medical purposes, calling the technology too dangerous. But the genie was already out of the bottle. From the 1920s through the 1950s, shoe stores across America installed fluoroscopes so customers could see their feet inside shoes. Children loved watching their wiggling toe bones, completely unaware they were receiving massive radiation doses with each fitting. Millions of Americans, especially children, were unnecessarily irradiated for decades before anyone understood the health risks. This represents both X-ray's most widespread civilian use and its biggest safety disaster. What invention should I cover next? Meanwhile, X-rays were transforming fields far beyond medicine. In 1922, X-rays revealed the condition of Tutankhamun's mummy without unwrapping it, revolutionizing archaeology. Police began using X-rays to detect concealed weapons and examine suspicious packages, giving law enforcement a new investigative tool. Forensic scientists could identify victims and solve crimes in ways previously impossible. Every application revealed new possibilities and new dangers. Wilhelm Rontgen received the first Nobel Prize in Physics in 1901 for discovering X-rays. He donated the entire prize money to his university and refused to patent his discovery, believing medical advances should benefit all humanity. His decision to keep the technology freely available accelerated its global adoption and saved countless lives, though it cost him personally millions in potential royalties. Today, Rontgen's accidental discovery has spawned a $40 billion industry. The average American receives 7 medical scans in their lifetime. 4 billion imaging procedures are performed worldwide every year. Modern hospitals are unimaginable without the ability to see inside the human body. From emergency rooms to operating theaters, what once seemed miraculous is now routine. And this is the pattern I keep seeing. Whether it is an invention, a company, or a discovery, the same forces that create something remarkable often led to consequences no one could have imagined. X-rays both cause and cure cancer. While diagnostic X-rays slightly increase cancer risk, targeted radiation therapy has saved millions of cancer patients. Modern safety protocols limit exposure to 1/1000th of what early patients received. Today, X-rays examine everything from airport luggage to ancient scrolls to distant stars. The Chandra X-ray Observatory captures X-rays from black holes billions of light years away. Customs agents use X-rays to detect smuggled goods in shipping containers. Rontgen's unknown rays became one of humanity's most versatile tools, revealing hidden structures across every scale of existence. If stories like this fascinate you, subscribe and join me every week as we uncover more inventions that changed everything. From my Nevada workshop, looking at the modern world that depends on seeing the invisible, I still remember the first time I saw an X-ray of my own broken wrist as a kid. That moment of wonder, seeing my own bones floating on film, connects me directly to Anna Bertha Rontgen looking at her skeletal hand and saying she had seen her death. That is the thing about great inventions. They solve one problem and create an entirely new world. Remember, this video is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research.